Major league athletes seem to stay one step or 25 million ahead of inflation. Of the American sports leagues, the NBA is at the top of the list for how well players are paid, whether or not the number is commensurate with the skills of the player. Some have speculated that it's because NBA players, unlike MLB and NFL players, have an international fan base, and not just, like, a bunch of fans in Cleveland. The players who make the big bucks on this list are generally considered to be very, very lucky. They just don't live up to their paychecks, whether because of injuries or performance. Just like the internet bubble that burst back in 1999-2000, these teams are going to be left with shattered budgets after paying high dollars for someone who may not produce. Let's move forward with our video and have a look at the top 10 overpaid NBA players from the 2011 to 2020 season. So, let's begin. But before we proceed further, if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, do hit the subscribe button so that you won't be missing out on any future NBA content. Number 10. Otto Porter, Chicago Bulls. Otto Porter Jr.'s expiring $28.5 million salary, one that won't even technically count against the Chicago Bulls until the 27-year-old forward picks up his player option. That seems exceedingly likely, since so few teams have the room to pay him more than that on the market. Porter Jr. is a trustworthy three-point shooter who has graded out as a quality defender in the past, when healthy. You might be able to justify the cash outlay for a fully fit Porter Jr., but the Bulls are giving that needle mover money to a player who logged just 14 games last year and 56 the year before. Last year, it was a foot injury. The season prior, a shoulder. And don't forget the hip issues that dogged his early career. Those don't seem to be going anywhere. A healthy Porter Jr. is a useful 3 and D wing who can slot into a good starting 5 and offer high-efficiency shooting with low usage. The Bulls are a fringe playoff contender though. They're not a guaranteed winner, for which Porter Jr.'s game would really make a difference. Number 9. Steven Adams, Oklahoma City Thunder. Steven Adams may very well be carved from a block of granite, and he's probably the NBA player most likely to treat compound fractures by rubbing dirt on them and nonchalantly returning to the court. But a conventional center, whose years spent absorbing physical punishment seems to have initiated his decline phase ahead of schedule, isn't worth anywhere near $27.5 million. That's what Adams will earn in his age 27 season, coming off of 2019-20. Averages of 10.9 points and 9.3 boards per game. Those are fine numbers, and they reflect the effort and force with which Adams operates. Number 8. Andrew Wiggins, Timberwolves. Wiggins was the team's second leading scorer at 18.1 points per game, but that number came at the price of the worst field goal percentage of his career, which was 41.2%. Last season was the first of his 5-year, $147.7 million extension, so he still has 4 more years to prove that he's worth that contract. Wiggins is set to make another $27.5 million next season, and that number only increases annually through 2023, so the Timberwolves better hope his production rises with salary. Number 7. Bismack Biyombo, Hornets. Biyombo was traded from the Magic to the Hornets in the summer of 2018, 2 years into a 4-year, $72 million contract he signed in 2016. Biyombo was essentially paid for one solid playoff run with the Raptors. He posted 3 double-doubles and 8 games with double-digit rebounds, including a 26-rebound performance against the Cavaliers in Game 3 of the 2016 Eastern Conference Finals. His production has not been the same since then. He has failed to take on a consistent starting center role despite making starter center money. Biyombo only appeared in 54 games for the Hornets last season, notching double-digit rebounds or points 5 times apiece. He played just 14.5 minutes per game despite being the second highest paid player on the team, and his role in this year's squad should be similar. The 27-year-old will make $17 million this season in the final year of his contract before becoming an unrestricted free agent this offseason. Number 6. Nicolas Batum, Charlotte Hornets. Nicolas Batum's contract is one of the last remnants of the spend like there's no tomorrow summer of 2016. And though the Charlotte Hornets only owe him the last year and $27.1 million of the 5-year, $120 million deal they agreed to on that fateful July day 4 years ago, Batum performed just fine in the first year of his contract, averaging 15.51 points, 6.2 rebounds, and 5.9 assists. He was also a quality wing defender with a grade length of 6'8". That was as good as things got, and Batum's decline hit bottom last season when he averaged just 3.6 points per game in 22 contests. Keep yourself tuned in as we discover 5 more overpaid players with you all. Hope you guys are enjoying the video, and if you have not yet subscribed to the channel, do it now in order to make sure that you don't miss out on any future NBA content from now on. Number 5. Tyler Johnson, Suns. Johnson was another product of the summer of 2016, inking a 4-year, $50 million contract with the Heat. A confusing signing for a player who only played in 36 games the previous season, averaging 8.7 points, 3 rebounds, and 2.2 assists per game. Johnson had 2.5 decent seasons in Miami before the Heat traded the shooting guard to the Suns at last year's trade deadline. The Suns thought they might be able to turn Johnson into their point guard to run alongside Devin Booker, but after a poor 13-game start in which he averaged 11.1 points and 4.2 assists per game while shooting 36.8% from the field, it became clear that wasn't the case. Phoenix decided to sign another point guard in Ricky Rubio this offseason, forcing Johnson to come off the bench despite making $19.2 million in the final year of his contract. Number 4. Kevin Love, Cleveland Cavaliers. The Cleveland Cavaliers executed what felt at the time like an emotional decision, signing Kevin Love to a 4-year, $120.4 million extension shortly after LeBron James left him a second time in 2018. Love is a gifted offensive player who shelved the top option game he established with the Minnesota Timberwolves for a secondary role behind James in Cleveland. The Cavs would have to surrender picks or young players to entice another team to take on his deal, but those are exactly the commodities they should retain. Love's contract is a prime example of how a single overpay can have far-reaching effects. He's overpaid generally, but the problem is worse due to his specific situation. Number 3. Russell Westbrook, Houston Rockets. It wasn't so long ago that Russell Westbrook's contract qualified as a genuine bargain. He led the league in a box plus minus and won MVP in 2016-17 while collecting $26.5 million in salary. Russ was the 3rd highest player in the NBA that year. He was also, by some measures, the best. That's value. Westbrook has never been a consistent defender, and his passing feel abandoned him in the playoffs, where the Rockets exited in the second round. Houston owes Westbrook, its second best player and one headed for a potentially steep decline, $132.6 million over the next 3 seasons. That's tough, and it's tougher because the tools the Rockets might have used to offload such a salary, first-round picks, are in short supply. Houston gave up 2 future firsts and swapped rights on 2 more to get Russ in the first place. Number 2. Tobias Harris, Philadelphia 76ers. Tobias Harris is durable, a valued teammate, and has a skill set that includes reliable 3-point shooting and a great size for a perimeter player. Character and scoring ability are worth something, but whatever that something is, it isn't $180 million over 5 years. The Philadelphia 76ers are shelling out max money for production that other players could replicate at a fraction of the cost. Philadelphia didn't have the means to replace Harris by signing an outside free agent, and its willingness to go deep into the tax to retain talent is, on some level, laudable. But Harris is now one of only 7 forwards in the league whose contract extends as far as the 2023-24 season, and he's projected to be the 2nd highest paid player at his position for that season. That's just too long of a commitment and too great of an expense for too fungible a player. Number 1. John Wall, Washington Wizards. The Washington Wizards got absolutely nothing for the $38.2 million they gave John Wall in 2019-20, as the 5-time All-Star missed the entire season while recovering from a ruptured Achilles tendon. Everything gets harder for Wall if he doesn't have the end-to-end burst and short area explosion that defined his game through his 20s. If the only worry attending Wall were the natural aging curve and the athletic regression it brings, there'd still be cause for concern. Throw in an extended hiatus and a notoriously athleticism-sapping injury, and things look bleak. Wall will make $41.3 million in 2020-21, $44.3 million in 2021-22, and as a player option for $47.4 million in 2022-23, his age 32 season. That's entirely too much for a Wizards team that never advanced past the second round with a younger, healthier Wall. So, which player do you think was the most overpaid among them all? Let us know your answers in the comment section down below. Hope you guys have enjoyed the video. Thumbs up if you liked it, and do hit the subscribe button so that you won't be missing out on any interesting videos from now on.